All right, welcome to the MinistryCon webcast. We've got Bruce Herwig here today with us from Trinity Church in Redlands, California. Now, tell us a little bit. We're doing a little profile today on your processes in your church communications. Tell us a little bit about Trinity Church and kind of where it's about and where it is, what it's about.
Trinity Church is an evangelical free church here in Redlands, Southern California. We're in the Inland Empire, which is several county area of Southern California, between Los Angeles and Palm Springs type area. Redlands, where we're located, is a pretty upscale neighborhood, but it's right next to San Bernardino, which has it used to be the crime capital of the world.
Oh, good.
Murder capital of the world. And we have different communities, Yucaipa, Loma Linda, famed hospital there, a lot of Seventh-day Adventists high in that area, and as well as a lot of Spanish type demographics there. We have a nice Spanish ministry, Fuente de Vida. One of the uniquenesses of our ministry is our Light and Power group, which is our adults with disability. We have a large there, and we have a nice outreach to the poorer part of Redlands through our Micah House community foundation, that we do literacy and tutoring and after-school programs.
Cool. Okay. And with the size of the church, what's your staff and your attendance?
I print about 1,200 worship folders on a Sunday is kind of how I gauge it.
Worship folders,
exactly.
That works.
Sometimes we have leftovers, but I figure one per family is the idea there. We'll bump up to 2,000 on an Easter type. We have like I said, our Spanish. We have another. What do they call those things? The other campus, our Pass area campus. They're kind of a venue, but they're not. They're live preaching, unique there, and large children's ministry. I think a lot of growing churches have a large children's ministry.
Yes,
that's a key component of where we minister.
Cool. Okay. Hey, we had talked before we recorded this. You said, I mean, in a past profile, we looked at Henderson Hills and their processes, and you kind of said, "Oh, that's not all the way we do it." So tell us about your processes. How do you go through and do your communications on a monthly basis there?
Yeah. Henderson Hills had I have two administrative. I have a graphic designer and our print coordinator, and Allison and Donna and I, we sat down and we watched that, and we were just chuckling because how could two churches be so different in terms of their processes? We focus if the communications department is a wheel, our monthly magazine is the hub of that. Actually, everything that we do is driven off of our monthly magazine. Okay. And what that allows us to do is we're working 6 to 8 weeks ahead of time on all of our communications and graphics. So first off, like right now we're working on our December, we're in the middle of December, and those will get, but we know then early on in November, all of the graphics and all of the communication, video needs, PowerPoint needs, web needs, 6 to 8 weeks ahead of time. So that gives a real head start on figuring out how this thing is and to plan our schedules.
Now people out there laughing at you going, 6 weeks notice, yeah, right.
Yeah.
We'll be glad if we get it tomorrow. It's Thursday.
It's not easy. We started with this giant worship folder that looked like the Encyclopedia Britannica, trifold tabloid type paper with then inserts on top of that. And we kind of listed everything. And what we decided to do was break it out into a monthly publication.
Okay.
And then what's going on this week. So Connections Magazine is what we do on a monthly basis. And inside of here is everything that's going on for that month. And people can download. We keep all these online, trinityonline.org. And what's really handy about that is for your new person, you can hand it to them, and it is a great overall overview of the church. People get the pulse of what's going on. And people then can just plug right into the different various ministries. So they get that big picture overview. And there are some people, believe it or not, in your church that actually do plan their month. And it's very helpful for them to have something in their hand. Our demographic skew a little bit older, so we're still very much print-based. We print 700 to 800 of these, and they're just available in kiosks around campus, and people can pick them up. So it's not like we force it on anybody. And that was one of the scary processes when we first started out, was, is anybody going to pick this up after we stop? And people like them. They like the stories that are inside them. They like know what's going on.
Great.
And then our weekly, we call it a worship folder. I think everybody else calls it a bulletin. But our worship folder is what's going on this week. There's no way to highlight everything all the time.
Right. So
we are able to specifically highlight the non-repeatable events. So women's ministries, they always meet on Monday and Wednesdays, and that's not the stuff that goes inside of our worship folder. We have that in a calendar section there. But we're able to bring out, high school ministry, they're doing a skating party or a bowling or whatever they're doing. But that's this week and this week only. And what that process has allowed me to do, if something is not going on this week or this month, it doesn't get in there. So I'm allowed to graciously say no, but people then know that their time is coming. You will get highlighted. And the best way to get highlighted is when you're by yourself, if you don't have all this other stuff to compete with. So that has allowed me, given me a little bit of freedom as a communications guy to say no, but say yes. It's your time. Your time's coming. The only exception to that is like camps or things like that need a few months.
Yeah, I was going to ask how you deal with events that need more than 1 month of promotion.
Yeah, typically we limit our promotion to 6 weeks on an all-church basis. That keeps, because we have so much stuff coming, if we go too much farther than that, we have too much overlap for large events. So if something needs like camps and things like that, we'll do a save the date section, allow people to then register online and point people that way.
Cool.
But then, I'm sorry, but typically then that month that it's happening, we don't need to put it in there because it's already either that the registration deadline is filled or what.
So you print this one publication for the month, so you've got a fairly good lead time to get content into that.
Correct. I send out first week of the month. It's a 4-week process. 1 week to gather the information. 1 week first draft, get it back. 3rd week, second draft, get it back, and then final 1 week to print and produce. So, and then we start it all over again. So it's a fairly regular process that's now just part of the routine. And there was a little bit of a challenge, moving people on to because there was it's not in there this week. How will they know about it? Well, the big stuff is going to be in there, and if it's big for your ministry, it will have its day in the sun, and it will come along. Now, in theory, once we do our main publication, our Connections magazine, we should be able to then produce all of the weekly publications, all the data. Yeah, it's all there. And in theory, that works well. But as you know, things change. Dates change. Events. Something gets added, something gets pulled off, and it's surprising week to week. Every church has its own pulse and its own flow. And some weeks, we are jam packed, and some weeks the stuff that's going on this week is empty. It's like. Where did everybody go? And usually it's because it's the calm before the storm is what I found out is how that works. And what we're able to do then is bring in some of the our non-traditional ministries, our non-all church, our men's ministry, our women's ministry, they get highlighted all the time. But we're able to bring in some of our singles groups, some of our koinonia groups, some of our support groups, and really give them a focus that they normally have. Or we can bring an ad from the back, a color ad, onto the inside. And that gives us a lot of flexibility there.
Great. Well, I see the huge benefit to being able to prepare that monthly piece in advance. I can't imagine what it takes the staff to prepare make those decisions that far in advance. But once you've done that, then it's going to make your job much easier. It would, I think, take a lot of pressure off of that last minute, because once it's been printed, you can't modify it again.
It really helps. I do find if I can get a draft in early, that's when all the roaches, it's like shining the flashlight underneath. That's when all the roaches scurry. It's like, no, that's not what I meant to say. Well, that's what you gave me, or this is what I was able to decipher from what you gave me. So we do a year, every quarter we do a calendaring meeting with all the staff.
Right.
So our weekly meetings aren't focused on calendar, what's new that's coming up at all. We don't have to discuss. I mean, it's more for information rather than let's come up with an event or things. It's already far enough in advance. Now just give me a paragraph. Give me 3 or 4 sentences. Give me a start time. Give me an end time. And is there any money involved?
Right.
And that will give, and where's it going to be? You give me those, that's enough for somebody to make a decision. And that's the way that we run it. And then that information then goes on the website. And then that information gets posted on the Facebook. And that's the information that gets emailed out in our weekly email. So it's, you get it right here, it makes it so much easier. And what I found, one of the pitfalls is if you get it wrong here, it has a tendency to multiply itself. So it's like, take an extra second, review the information, and some, as in always, some people are better at it than others, and I don't like to hunt down stuff if I don't have to. That's probably the least fun job of a communications guy, is to have to hunt down. It's like, help me help you. Give me. I'm asking for it. For your benefit. Please give it to me.
Right. Very good. Well, do you have trouble with people trying to stretch? I mean, when you're creating, especially the monthly piece, I mean, is there a constant battle to postpone it, get one more thing in there? Or are you able to pretty well just say it's a deadline, and if you don't make it, you won't be in, you lose a whole month? I mean, I can see that, from the contractor's side, it's being great. If you can really hard code those deadlines, that if you don't get it by Friday, it won't be in for the whole month. Whereas in the weekly things, you can always, cram it in there next week. But I can also see a lot of pressure from the staff of always want to do one more thing before we go to print, and at some point having to.
Well, what we find is it is print time, and there are some pretty tough deadlines, and usually my greatest restraint is space. So if we're full, we're full, and so that helps. If you're working in design, the pages flow.
Right.
And I hate it when somebody adds in a new event. So I'd much rather, let me know that you have an event. If you can't get it on a certain date, you're waiting for. If you don't have all the info, just tell me, and we'll put in some blank text
filler in there for you.
Exactly, and then if it gets pulled, it gets pulled. But if it's at least it's there, and that gives us a little bit of flexibility in terms of stretching out that deadline. They're hard in theory, they're soft in reality. If anybody has to flex, let it be my department. And I think the gals that I work with, they understand that, and our pastors understand. Hey, we will do everything possible to get this in there, but at some point we do hit print, and then it's locked down. Yeah.
Well, it's a beautiful plan, because it looks like then on your weekly stuff, like you said, you've got all the pieces. I mean, you're working down from a master list, down to the website, down to the weekly handouts. You're not chasing things on those weekly levels. So.
It seemed to work really well for us. Yeah. And another nice thing is I can't say we get to go home early, but we get to work on some of the more fun stuff. The weekly worship folder. That's your bread and butter. That's the. But we want to, I would much rather be working on graphics or doing web stuff. I mean, it's a lot more fun. If we can get this out of the way, then it makes the rest of the week more fun. Great.
Well, thank you very much. Thanks for sharing that, and appreciate it. And hopefully we'll get some people out here that can take some of these ideas and run with them and put them in place in their churches.
Yep. If you have any questions, feel free to email.
Yep. Thank you.